Welcome back to Educator. And if you've made it this far in the reading comprehension course, you can give yourself a nice pat on the back and a nice stretch of relief. Because you've actually finished. And you finished what was probably a very long and very grueling reading course. And this last lesson is going to be the shortest lesson, but probably actually the most important. This is an addendum for a few readings more. Let's remember what we went over in this entire course. First, we all practiced vocabulary, and you've learned probably many new words by now. Introduce you to 3 non-short stories and how to understand literature. Then the basics of understanding very simple essays, which is kind of like our 5-paragraph essays in our writing course. And then finally, we went all the way to nonfiction books, and then even beyond that, to introducing how you can pass a standardized test. Now, what was all this for? Was it just for grades? Was it just for school? Was it just, as many of my students used to tell me, because of mom? What were the goals? This is the exact slide from the very first lesson. I wanted you to be better prepared for exit exams. And now you're getting there. You're much better prepared if you've done all this reading, and you've done all this annotating, you've done all these exercises. On the day of those exit exams, you are now better prepared. I hope that you've read some short fiction. I hope you've enjoyed drawing some comic strips, and I hope that you've answered some questions and have discussed them with friends. And I hope that I've shown you how much fun that can be, especially if you ever want to consider writing some of that yourself. I bet that you probably can't even count the amount of new words that you've learned by now, but I hope that you have learned at least 100. And finally, there's this number 4. You will have the tools for whatever books, for whatever goals you have in life. Now, this last part isn't something that I can sum up in a lesson, because I know that everybody watching this has different goals. If you're an athlete, maybe you want to read a biography of one of your favorites. You know, if you want to get a job in the IT industry, maybe you need to crack open a book on programming. If you just want to get a job at McDonald's and be the best burger flipping person you could ever be, well, there might actually be a book for that too. I'm not sure where to find it. But maybe you want to run your own business, and maybe there's something there. I don't know what your goals are, but I am going to introduce you to a couple books that I think would probably help anybody with any goals. And I'll tell you some stories about why I'm recommending these. This very first book is a book that will get you into college. I'm assuming that probably at least half of you watching this intend to go to college someday. And I'm assuming that the other half of you would like to go to college, but maybe you're a little scared. And I'm saying that because I've known a lot of people who were scared to get into college when they were 15 or scared to get into college when they were 20. The process of getting into college and finding out what you're going to do is actually a pretty intense thing and can take a lot of time. Fortunately, there are highly recommended books that will break down the process and make it easy and make it small and make it not so scary for you. This book has actually been recommended to me by a lot of college educators and a lot of high school guidance counselors. If you don't have a high school guidance counselor because you're homeschooled, or maybe you're attending a very small private high school, whatever it is, maybe you might consider getting this book. It's called Get It Together for College. It's a 2nd edition, and it's published by College Bound. They have a whole lot of these here, and this is something that will be a great introduction in order to plan getting into college. Have you ever had to adjust to a new social world? Have you ever stepped onto a new high school and you've been nervous because you don't know anybody and you're kind of afraid? Have you ever had a friend stare at you and you've just realized that you've had an awkward moment? Absolutely, because everybody has. Now, why did I pick this book? Well, I actually picked How to Win Friends and Influence People for 2 reasons. Number 1, there are jobs where you live and breathe on your social skills. They're called sales and marketing. And everybody I've known who's worked in sales and marketing says this is the very first book that you must read. And I thought, well, I guess if it's a good business book, maybe I'll want to read it. But is that really relevant for a lot of the high school students and a lot of the people who are just entering college for non-business majors? Well, it actually turns out that, just a few days ago, I put on my Facebook and I asked, hey, I know a lot of you here from college that I went to were homeschool kids. What books do you wish you had read before coming into college? And 3 or 4 of them said this book right here. And I don't know why they love it so much, but they said that it really, really helped them. This book, I promise you, will help you adjust and to navigate into any new social environment, whether that be a work environment, whether that be a new school, whether that be meeting someone's family, whatever it is. That's what this book is all about. I've read it myself, and it's actually really easy to follow, and it's actually kind of fun to read. This final book is all about managing your time and managing your stress. As a high school student right now, your time is generally very structured. You wake up, you go to school, you come home, you do homework, and then you maybe play a video game, read a book, watch TV, talk to friends, and then you go to sleep and you do it all over again. Now, after you got out of high school, all of a sudden you don't have a schedule anymore. And it can be very, very easy to both have too much to do or to completely waste your time. When I was in that phase, when I had just gotten out of high school, our friends and I said, man, let's pray to God that we know how to manage our time better. And I'm not against praying to God at all, but it never occurred to us that maybe, just maybe, there was some book out there that could help us to do that, and to help us figure out goals, and to help us navigate the 5 million things that we're doing all at the same time, so that we're not stressed out and we can succeed in anything that we do. And that's what this book is about, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now those are just 3 books. Maybe some of those match your interests and your goals, or maybe they don't. So if those don't work for you, what do you do to go ahead and find the best ones? What do you want to be good at doing? Find somebody who is already very good at doing what you want to do. And I'm not just talking about some high school peer. Some high school peer that you look up to. I'm talking about somebody who's maybe making a career out of what you would like to be doing. And you can just kind of talk to them, get in contact with them, and figure out, hey, what do I need to learn in order to get there? And knowing that, what kind of books can I find that'll teach me that? Another great place to look for the kind of books to read would be just go to bookstores and especially talk to the bookstore staff. I mean, you don't work at a bookstore if you don't love to read, and that's all that they do. Probably about half the books that I've purchased came from recommendations from bookstore clerks and bookstore employees. In fact, most bookstores have a staff recommended shelf where you can kind of find things that are interesting to read. The final place I would recommend would be online message boards, internet communities, and even blogs. If you find these sources online that match your interests and are things that you care about, you'll eventually find some book reviews and some recommended reading for whatever goals you have and you seek. Educator.com, I have a list of recommended books that maybe you might be interested in reading, but Educator.com is not the only place you can look. So, remember, keep on reading, and thanks for using Educator.